welcome back again to Off the Shelf Book Talk with Book Lovers. I am Elizabeth Nelson here, as always, with the wonderful Kay Johnson, and we're going to talk about some more books this week. So, Kay, do you want to start off, or do you want me to start off this week?
Well, you know what, Betsy? Let's have you start off in a...
Let's see. So we will start off... So you know how we all love our British procedurals, our small-town country murders. Midsummer's Murders, Father Brown. There's billions of them. Cozy Mysteries. Locked Away for the Weekend. Well, I have the perfect book for you. Maureen Johnson wrote a little book called Your Guide to Not Getting Murdered in a Quaint English Village.
I love it.
So this is literally like a it breaks down. So like you're going into town, like these are the different parts of an English town, a small English town. And then it breaks up like all the terrible things and why you should avoid these parts of the town. It's like, oh, you're going to go visit a little town. Do not go during any of these events. So it's like, don't go during a spring festival. Don't go during the flower show. Don't go for the new bell tower. And it's like, then it talks about like all the people you need to watch out for and what's wrong with these different people. And then it goes to like people staying in the manor house. And then it's really funny because then like through different sections, there'll be like quizzes. So it'll be like, which one of these three scenarios should you do? And it's like, oh, you're walking through the woods and you hear a footstep behind you. Do you run as fast as you stop and turn around to see what it is? Or it's like all these things. And it's like, no, you don't stop and turn around, and like just tears you apart. But it's like maybe 100 pages. It's a super tiny little book, and there's a guy named Jay Cooper did the illustrations in it, and they're just the funniest little pictures. Like it's
Who's the author?
Maureen Johnson is the author, and she has written she writes a YA series called the Truly Devious series, and it follows the main character's name in those is Stevie, and she is at this private boarding school trying to solve a really old murder. And so those books are really good too. But this one, I just saw it. I saw it when we went up north in a bookstore, but I didn't purchase it there. But I did get it on. It's on. You can get it on Kindle on Amazon.
Yeah,
and
here
it's just the funniest little, just tongue in cheek. Just I giggled, I laughed, and it's true because you can see.
This is it.
Yeah, it's just the cutest little cover. And it's just one of those that you're just gonna laugh the whole time you read it because you're reading through it. And it's true. It's like when they're talking about the different parts of the manor, like people that live there is like the great aunt. Nobody really knows whose sister she is, but she's lived there forever and she's old and she's probably gonna push you down the stairs and she knows who killed the nephew.
This is a great cover too because it shows a pair of feet. You know, so somebody's been murdered, and then there's somebody peeking out behind the curtain.
Yeah, so it's again just a real tongue-in-cheek giggle. You know, sometimes you just need to read those books that are just satire and they're just funny because it's true. You can watch all those episodes, and you know the minute someone's like, "Oh, we're going to the flower show," well, the judge is going to be dead in the greenhouse with a pitchfork sticking out of his back or something, and they're just good. And I mean, it was nice and light, and it was kind of a nice little break from some of the... I went to the library, and like I realized that all of the books I had bought were like thriller mysteries, and so it was a nice way to break up the depressing murder twist and turny times.
Yeah.
But you need a break
I
from
read
those
my
sometimes.
nonfiction.
Yes. Yeah, I took a break from that, and I actually read this one after Sarah Pierce. She wrote a book called The Sanatorium, which is about Detective Ellen, Lien, is Warner, is the main character, and she goes to visit her brother who has they've taken the sanatorium, as one does, up in the mountains, and they've decided they're going to turn it into a luxury resort. Because obviously it's a great idea. Nothing terrible happens when we do these things, ever. And so she gets there to meet... she goes to see her brother and to meet his fiance, and of course the fiance goes missing. People start dying. Terrible things happen. And I just finished The Retreat, which is the second book in the Detective Ellen series. And this one, her boyfriend and his sister have built a retreat on an island where, again, terrible, terrible things have happened. There was a boys' school.
Oh, God. Not the English boys' school.
Yes, an English boys' school that was shut down, and there were murders that happened on the island. It's got a giant big cliff rock that looks like the Grim Reaper. All good things, obviously. And she winds up having to go and find a murder because there's a woman found dead who is not a guest.
Oh, where'd she come from?
You got to read the book to find out. They're really good. There's kind of the book. I would say they're kind of more like they're mystery thrillers, but they're kind of more of the gothic where you're never sure if there's like if it's just a feeling in the air or if there is something maybe supernatural going on. And she's got kind of this stalkery kind of thing going on in the background that's kind of creepy. Not a book to read at night when you're home alone in a dark house with nobody around. I don't recommend it, especially not when your cat jumps up on your bed out of nowhere and gives you a heart attack. But she's a really good writer. Ellen is kind of a complicated character with a past. She had been hunting a serial killer.
Always a serial killer.
Wound up kind of fighting with him, and they fell into like a body of water, and he just kind of disappeared. And like, oh, he drowned. It's fine, but you don't know for sure if.
Of course he hasn't. Book 8 will bring him back.
I guess, but this is book 2, so we might have a way to go for that. But quick reads, nice little twisty turnies if you like those. So, but again, usually wrapped up with a bit of a bow, which is kind of nice too. So.
Yep. I downloaded, but I have not gotten too far into them yet. Mm-hmm. Bill O'Reilly's got 3 new books out, or I don't know how new. They're relatively new, I guess. They're called Legends and Lies series.
Okay.
And one is on the Civil War. One is on the Patriots of the American Revolution. And one is on the Real West.
Okay.
And so they look really good, and I thought it'd be interesting because I know a little bit about all those things, more about the Civil War. So I was curious what he would find as legends and what was lies and stuff. So I can report on that at another time once I get into it. But they look good to me as something different. And I kind of like Bill O'Reilly's history books. He did Who Killed Kennedy and...
Oh, yeah, the Killing Kennedy, Killing Lincoln I liked because I learned a lot from that book, but I also feel like his books read like fiction.
Yes.
It's like Eric Larson. They read more like a fiction story with all of the facts thrown into them. I personally did not finish Killing Kennedy because I just decided after like the first 3 chapters, I did not like John Kennedy.
Well, yeah, there is that.
But again, I don't like politics generally. So if it's Tom will tell you, my husband will tell you that the only way we can discuss politics is if we watch The West Wing, and that's all fake. And I know what happens because we've seen every episode. But yeah. It's different.
Another book that I picked up and I started reading, and I have not finished it, but I will. It's called Broken News.
Okay.
Well, my cover vanishes so fast.
Of course it does. They run away.
Broken News, Why the Media... yes. Well, it's about broken news and what has happened to the news and why people don't believe it anymore, and kind of what can be done about it. And so it's an interesting read being in the news business, but it's why the media rage machine drives America and how to fight back.
Yeah.
And it is interesting because it talks about, really if you're watching particularly cable news, it seems that their goal is to make you angry, and to be very divisive, one side or the other. And so this book is all about that. And it is interesting. Like I said, I've only read about half of it.
Okay.
But it's just kind of interesting why they do it. It's always about money, greed and money, greed and power. It's always about... So it can be kind of disappointing. Oh, another book I read which again I was just thrilled with, was William Kent Kruger's new one called Fox Creek.
Okay.
And I'm not a fan of all of his books. I've interviewed him several times, William Kent Kruger, because we've done 3 of his books for One Community, One Read, One Community.
Yeah.
And he's a super, super guy. I mean, just really, he's a really great human being, and he's a very fine writer. In fact, when I started reading Fox Creek, I had just come off a series of Kindle Unlimited books, and I literally stopped and emailed him and said, "You are such a fine writer.
Yeah.
It is just such a joy to read your prose."
I haven't read too much at many of his. I'm not going to remember the title of it, but it's the sister is murdered and the dad is a preacher.
Oh, yeah.
And it's I'll look it up and I'll mention it on another episode, but I've only read that one. And it's everything that happens the summer after she dies.
Oh, that's Grace?
It's something with Grace. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll look it up and
Ordinary Grace.
Ordinary Grace. We can do it between the two of us. We got this.
Yes.
Yep.
The William Kent Kruger book, though, Fox Creek is his latest. It came out, I think, in August. And he tends to write things, he takes his plots from headlines, human trafficking, different things. Some of those topics are too dark for me, and I just don't ever want to go there, so I don't read them. But this one wasn't as dark, and it's really, really good, and I highly recommend it because it's just if you're a William Kent Kruger fan, this is true William Kent Kruger. I mean, and it's got it's a Cork O'Connor mystery, and it's just really good, and it's just a really good read, and I really enjoyed it. I felt like I was, wow, I'm back in the fold here.
Good.
So I can fully recommend William Kent Kruger's Fox Creek, but I will tell you that there's probably a reasonably long waiting list at the library for it, because his books, if you look online, there's almost always a hold on his books, even the old ones, you know, that, so.
Well, and I think too, I feel like when a new book comes out in a series, a lot of people like to go and try to read everything again, because I've had it several times where I'll be like, oh, this series has been out for a while. I can just start reading them back to back. And I get to like the 5th one, and then 6 and up, everybody else has, because there's like a 15th, 37th book way down the line that's coming out, and like 1,200 people have decided they're going to reread. And it's like, no, I was getting all of these and not having to wait for. I actually had that happen with Hannah Swenson, Joanne Fluke's series that takes place Lake Eden, Minnesota. They, I think Hallmark did a movie of like the first 2 or 3 of them, and when those came out, everybody picked up her books again. And I mean, they're great. Cozy mysteries, you can't beat them. Even though they want to make you eat, they make you want to eat cookies
well,
nonstop.
Isn't there like the banana cream pie mystery and the cinnamon
the Christmas
roll.
Cookie murders, and they're all chocolate chip murders. But I mean, so many cookies.
Yes.
So much food.
So little time.
Oh, you get so hungry when you're looking at them.
Yeah, I just, when the Richard Osman series, those 3 books, when the 3rd one came out, I actually my intention was to read the first 2 and then the 3rd one. But alas, I couldn't wait. I just jumped in. So now my sister Jill's really likes these too. And so she had agreed with me that we should read them all again.
Yeah, I have the first 2 in book form.
Yeah.
Oh, my mother is reading the first one.
That might be a year or 2.
Yeah, but I just finished last night a book called, so it's Ryan LaSala is the author, and it's called The Honeys is the name of the book. And the main character is Mars, and he, his twin sister dies and she was super involved in this his mother is a senator, and she was involved in this very, very kind of elite summer camp.
Okay.
And he feels that her death is somehow connected with this group of girls that she was friends with who were called the Honeys. And so he decides, even though he had terrible experiences at this camp, he is going to go back to this camp and find out what was going on with his sister. So this is like a YA, young adult novel. And I would put this probably more in kind of a horror genre with some of the kind of a supernatural horror type stuff going on. There were some times when I was reading it, I was not quite sure what was happening. And I couldn't quite follow it, but I enjoyed it. It's not going to be for everybody, but he kind of reminded me of Grady Hendrix, who's written like the Southern Vampire book.
Yep.
Kind of the same kind of writing style where you're not 100% sure where you have the line of thought and then it kind of shoots over here and it'll kind of come back to the storyline. But I'd seen a lot of people, Kate Roberts, who is an author, she writes romance, but she had been talking about it. Like when she was reading it, I follow her on Twitter, and she was like, every 20 minutes was like, I'm not sure what's going on with this book. She's like, I just read this scene. When you read this book and you get to this scene, you'll know what I mean when I say, what did I read? With many more explanatives in there that I'm not going to say on television, because I don't think Liz would kick me off if I did say some of these words. But she was just like, I have no idea what I just read. And I was like, and so I had that last night. I had to stop sometimes, and I was like, yeah, pretty much. I have no idea what just happened here, but okay, we'll go with it. One of those books that you stop reading and you're like, now I'm going to have to sit here for the next 45 minutes while my brain processes what I've read so that I can actually go to sleep.
Well, the book I'm most looking forward to is coming out November 29th, which isn't all that long from now, and is Louise Penny's number 18 in her Chief Inspector Gamache series. And it's called A World of Curiosities.
Okay.
And the description says, it's spring and three pines is reemerging from the harsh winter. But not everyone buried should come alive again. Not everything lying dormant should reemerge, but something has. Uh-oh is right.
I'm going to call dead body.
Well, 1, 2,
and
3,
like
or 4.
And like a snowbank or something.
Yeah, so I thought it sounded pretty good, so we'll see.
Yeah.
I'll probably have to break down and buy it, and we'll see what happens. Are you looking forward to anything?
Well, I picked up, we were joking about this before we were taking a break from filming, but I picked this book up. It had been, again, when I get bored and I can't sleep, I go down these dark holes on TikTok. And for people who don't know, it's an app where people can upload movies and short videos, and they actually have a really big reader community.
Oh, wow.
And they call it Book Talk. And so if you go to like Barnes & Noble and you see a table that says popular on Book Talk, that's what it means. And a lot of authors are actually rather interactive with their audience that they read with, or a lot of people who are more of like do like the short stories or fan fiction, or go straight to Kindle Unlimited, are able to get the word out about their books for readers that way. And so I saw this one on there. This is called Hidden Pictures. And we were joking about it because, so the book follows, the main character's name is Mallory, and she is just out of rehab, and she takes a job as a summer nanny for a family who've just moved to the area, their little boy, who's 5, Teddy, to watch him for the summer until he goes to school. Now, Teddy is a very, very busy boy and likes to draw pictures. And so we have, you talk about all these terrible things that happen in pictures, but they did include, Teddy's fun little pictures. They look pretty innocent until we find Teddy's invisible friend. This is Anya. Doesn't she look friendly? So now that they've moved into this house, Teddy has an imaginary friend named Anya, and so he's drawing, and he has conversations with her upstairs in his room or wherever they're at. And so, of course, because it's creepy, his pictures get more and more into things going on that are not bunnies. And so I'm just getting to the point where He started drawing, and she's heard him talking, and he's bringing her pictures, and so something not good appears to have happened in this house, and we're gonna have to deal with it now. But and I knew the premise, but I think it's kind of an interesting little add-on to actually throw the pictures
Creepy.
in with the book. And like I've seen books that have done that before, like Mrs. Peregrine's School for the Peculiar.
Yep.
Those have a bunch of like old pictures and drawings in them, but it adds a little bit to the creep factor. With that
Because
book
each
I'm
book
reading,
is getting worse.
Each picture is getting worse, and I was looking up, and I can still see that there are more pictures coming, and I'm a little nervous about it. But another book I'm reading right now, I mentioned Katie Robert had talked about The Honeys, and so she's more of a romance author, but she has a series called Dark Olympus, and these are Greek mythology retellings.
Oh, like
With, so like the first one is called Neon Gods, and this one would be Hades and Persephone is the storyline. Again, they're romance novels. Just throwing that out there, people. So if you don't like romance, don't read them because there's romance involved. But I mean, the thing that I think is, and she's been on Book Talk a lot, Katie, right now, because so she's, as an author, she actually has had to move a lot into dictating her work because she has really bad carpal tunnel from typing and work. And she had been working with a book subscription company to send out book boxes. So you get the book and you get some other fun little stuff in the package. And without talking to her publisher, they asked her to do 6,000 autographs for the front page of these books. And she can't physically do that, and she uses a book stamp. And so this book subscription box sent out, without checking with her, an apology saying that they weren't aware of this and that she hadn't actually signed the books. And it became this big thing. And she's like, I didn't apologize. She's like, I never agreed to sign 6,000 cover pages, which not even a normal person can do. But she says, much less me, because she's like, I'm not even writing my book. She's like, I have to dictate them, and then I have to edit the dictating, which is not good. But so she's been in, so people are kind of up in arms about that, where they're like, well, yeah, you can't make people sign this book, especially somebody who can't. And the book stamp looks just like her actual signature anyway, so what does it matter? So that was kind of a big debate on the internet, is if a book stamp counts as a signature. And somebody's like, well, it counts because the author still touched the actual thing.
So is she still doing the subscription box?
I don't believe so. She told people, don't buy the subscription box, buy it everywhere else. So,
well, I don't blame her for them sending out an apology.
Yeah.
And
And I was like, how? That's kind of a. And then they were like and then they like issued an apology to her that wasn't even like an apology.
No,
it was
of course
like
not.
It was like, we love Katie. We didn't mean anything by this or whatever. And basically it was just like, it's not our fault that she took it the wrong way. Like, it wasn't even an apology. But I tell you, book talk can get pretty
hot.
People people are very passionate about the books they like and the books they don't like.
That's true. I mean, we could come to blows. No.
I don't think we've ever come to blows. We have ones we don't agree on. We have some things we do agree on, as like we were saying.
I think we agree more about books than we don't agree.
I would agree with that, yes.
Yeah.
I would say that's true. I don't know. I don't think, like, myself and my husband probably wouldn't agree, but Tom doesn't really read books.
I was going to say he's read one in 5 years.
The last book he finished was, I think, a Cormac McCarthy book, and I haven't read any of his because I know
They're
that
dark.
He's rather gory. Even Tom finished one, and he goes, yeah, you shouldn't read this.
That's funny.
He does the same thing with TV shows for me, though, my husband. He'll be like, I'll watch the first episode, and then he'll come back and be like, oh, yeah, you can watch this, or yeah, this is just a me watch. This is a me watch, and you just read about it online, and we'll call it good. So.
Yeah. Well, it happens. You know,
does.
not everything is for everybody.
No.
And isn't that a wonderful thing?
Yes. And like I had a friend of mine had recommended a book I read that she really liked, and it was called Hello Transcriber by Hannah Morrissey. And it follows a lady that is a transcriptionist for a police department through she lives in Wisconsin, and it's like a real kind of slummy, bad neighborhood where this police area is set up, and so she's working, and she wants to be a writer because obviously transcriber, and that's what we do in books. We make our main characters want to be authors. So she wants to do that, and so she gets involved in this series of murders looking for somebody. And my friend really, really liked it, and you can have dark in a book. You can have sad. You can have people depressed. You can have terrible things happening. But you got to have a little bit of joy every now and then. I had to put it down, I think. I don't even know if I finished it. I think I got to like page 50, and nothing good had happened. People had died. She's in a bad marriage. Like, she's transcribing like police reports, and like there's a place near town where a lot of people have committed suicide that we feel the need to go and visit a lot. And it was just like, can I have a little bit of joy? I need a little bit of happy in the, like I can read something. I can read a serious book. I can read any of those, like a horror book. But you gotta have a little bit of light to carry you through. Like even when you have like everybody's gotta have a little bit of some kind of joy in the book.
I agree. Otherwise it would be really a downer.
It's just, I don't personally want to be brought down. I can bring myself down very easily if I need to. I don't need it in the book.
There's all sorts of ways I can bring myself down.
I know. I was just like, she was like, did you like the book? And I was like, you liked this book? We're just not going to talk about this book, and we'll just move on with our friendship. And I think that I always think that's really funny too with books. It's like somebody that you can match up so well on with so many books, and then you find one book and you're like, really?
Yeah.
And they look at you like, you didn't like it?
That is like, I can't get over this friend of your mom's. Just a regular mom. And she likes these really, really dark murder books. I mean,
Yeah.
I really have to admit that I looked at her differently after I discovered that.
Yeah, but everybody's got their own thing.
That's true.
You might not like what we talk about. We might not like what you talk about, but we can all agree that books make everything better.
Yes, that's true.
If you have any books you think we need to check out, reach out to us on Facebook or send us an email at offtheshelfbooktalk@gmail.com, and we will see you next time.